With Museveni down.
Down.
Down with Mozi down.
Down.
Viva Congo, viva.
Viva.
Free Uganda, free.
Free.
Free Uganda, free.
Free.
Free Africa, free.
Free.
Uganda is breeding. Museveni and his son Muhoozi are just a project of pain, murder, torture, enforced disappearances, all that Ugandans have never asked for. There are hundreds and hundreds of opposition critics, especially allied to NUP, who are rotting in jails, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. No court undertakings. Many of them are in basements. And of course, we have had a history of other nationals, especially in the case of Bob Njagi, Nicholas Oyo, who were abducted and kept incommunicado in basements, what Museveni called fridges, for near a month or so. We have a case of Boniface Mangi, who was abducted in Tanzania, and so this is not only happening in Uganda, but is now almost an East African affair. So what can we do to stop all this madness? As we have said, the international community and all associates of the human rights should come through, because if nothing happens, Uganda will no longer be a country. It's a terror or a dungeon of murder, torture, of which many people are afraid to speak out. So I thank all the voices that come through to talk and condemn all these atrocities that are happening in Uganda. Thank you.
My name is Elisha Ochieng Alam, a human rights defender here in Kenya, and in solidarity with our brothers in Uganda, we are here to read this statement. The charge sheet of Dr. Kizza Besigye, an airtight indictment of state lawlessness. Beyond the humanitarian emergency, serious questions are now being raised about credibility and internal consistency of the prosecution on evidence. Recent defense analysis identify multiple contradictions within the state principal witness statements, including conflicting timelines concerning alleged meetings in Geneva, inconsistent accounts surrounding the alleged Kisumu event, and chronology that appears incompatible with public document event. These issues go directly to the liability of the prosecution's central narrative and reinforce the urgent need for independent judicial scrutiny before lives are irreparably lost in custody. As articulated by prominent legal defenders, including Advocate Isaac Christopher Lubogo, the Museveni-Muhoozi military apparatus has completely discarded the facade of constitutional state. The regime is operating in direct criminal violation of both domestic founding laws and international treaties, defiance of APEC judicial power. The regime continued to hold Dr. Besigye in total defiance of the January 31st, 2025 Supreme Court of Uganda ruling, which explicitly ordered his release. This open executive defiance violates Article 126, Section 1 of the Constitution of Uganda, which affirms that judicial power is derived from the people. The continued detention, despite the Supreme Court ruling, coupled with growing questions surrounding the prosecution evidence, has further eroded the confidence in the independence and integrity of Uganda's justice system.
The international community can no longer provide diplomatic cover or financial life to support a regime operating a lawless dynastic military dictatorship. We demand, number one, immediate release of Dr. Kizza Besigye on humanitarian grounds. Court order authorities must immediately grant unconditional bail to Dr. Besigye to permit urgent specialized medical treatment. Drop all political motivated charges against Dr. Besigye and Haj Obidi Lutale, and permit an independent international medical team to oversee Besigye ICU recovery. 2. Immediate release of Iriasi Lukwago. Authorities must immediately grant unconditional bail to Iriasi Lukwago to permit urgent specialized medical evacuation to India to save his life. 3. Target the Museveni Muhoozi enablers. Global magnetic sanction. The US, UK and EU must freeze the foreign bank accounts, offshore assets and luxury real estate holdings of President Yoweri Museveni, General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, and prison commanders directly supervising the medical starvation of Lukwago and Besigye. 3. The immediate suspension of global security funding. Foreign government must immediately cut off all military hardware sales, training aid, and intelligence sharing grants given to the Uganda People Defense Forces, UPDF. Global taxpayers must not fund a military command that openly tortures lawyers and abducts political opponents from neighboring sovereign democracies. My name is Michael Ngige, aka Jomo Kenyatta Jr. Thank you.
Viva Kombe Viva!
Viva!
Viva Kombe Viva!
The case of Kizza Besigye, transnational kidnapping and illegal extradition. The current life-threatening hospitalization of Dr. Kizza Besigye is the direct result of lawless cross-border security operation executed in absolute violation of territorial sovereignty and international law. The illegal abduction from Nairobi on November 16, 2024, Dr. Besigye was unlawfully seized from an apartment in Riverside suburb of Nairobi, Kenya, by armed operatives acting in collusion with Uganda security elements. He was held incommunicado, denied access to legal counsel or his family, and secretly spirited across the border. Flagrant violation of extradition treaties. The regime bypassed all established legal, judicial, and diplomatic protocols governing international extraditions between Kenya and Uganda. No formal extradition requests were filed. No judicial hearings were held in Kenyan courts, and no deportation orders were legally processed. Hereby we ask the Kenyan government, what were you trying to do with Dr. Kizza Besigye? Why were you part of this abduction? And why did you allow to be part of this abduction? A dangerous regional precedent. The continued detention of Dr. Besigye, therefore, cannot be viewed in isolation. Comrades, the continued detention of Dr. Besigye, therefore, cannot be viewed in isolation. His unlawful cross-border rendition, prolonged detention, deteriorating health, and continued prosecution, despite mounting challenges to the state's own evidence, collectively point to an escalating assault on due processes, judicial independence, and the rule of law. This lawless cross-border rendition constitutes a state-sponsored kidnapping on sovereign foreign soil, the same way we witnessed Comrade Boniface Mwangi when he was abducted in Tanzania. And Bob Njagi and Nicholas Soyo, who abducted in Uganda twice. By transforming neighboring territories into hunting grounds for political dissidents, the Museveni Muhoozi apparatus has directly undermined regional stability. Comrades, the Museveni Muhoozi and the Suluhu and the Ruto apparatus has directly undermined regional stability and violated the principle of non-refoulement under international refugee and human rights law. Viva fighters, viva!
Viva power!
People power!
Our power!
Our power!
People power!
The targeted destruction of legal defense. To ensure opposition leaders die without access to a fair trial or a public voice, the regime has carried out a brutal campaign to decapitate their legal representation. The medical hostage taking of Elias Lukwago. Jailed on trumped-up prison charges, Kampala Road Mayor Elias Lukwago is experiencing severe systematic health failure. A medical evaluation from the executive director of Mulago National Referral Hospital explicitly notes severe spinal complications and advanced hypertension. Appearing via Zoom, Lukwago pleaded, "I need to be in India immediately if my life is to be saved." The state has repeatedly adjourned his bail hearings, effectively handing him a slow death sentence to block him from resuming Besigye's legal support. The residue harassment of Dr.Kizza. While prominent human rights attorney Dr.Kizza was released on a steep 20 million shillings cash bail following international outrage over his unconstitutional 9-month military court conviction, his ability to practice remain heavily restricted. The state continues to subject him to relentless judicial harassment, strict travel bans, and mandatory monthly reporting to the court registrar, sabotaging his ability to mount unfettered defense for Besigye. The ban on Kenyan Council. The regime has formally barred Council Mother Karua from entering Uganda, sealing off Dr. Besigye from regional legal protection. People power.
Power, power.
Anthony Sekalala.
So, where have you read?
Is emergency alert for Dr. Kizza Besigye, collapse in state custody and remain in ICU. An urgent call to halt the cruel state-sanctioned execution of Dr. Kizza Besigye and Elias Lukwago by the Museveni-Muhonzi regime. July 30th, Legal Defense Network, Regional Bar Association, International Human Rights, watchdogs, civil societies actors, and human rights defenders worldwide issue this alert on the systematically physical destruction of Dr. Kizza Besigye and his legal counsel by the regime of Yoweri Museveni and Chief of Defense Force, General Muhonzi Kainerugaba. The crisis reaches as Scottsfield tips pointed yesterday, July 29, when 70-year-old Dr. Kizza Besigye collapsed into a state of unconsciousness inside a forfeit cage at a high court in Kampala. Eyewitness, a legal account described a shocking, frail state of deterioration, with Dr. Besigye exhibiting yellowing eyes, labored breathing, and gasping for air. He is currently fighting for his life under hostile military guard in the ICU at Mulango National Referral Hospital. Simultaneously, his co-counsel and People Front for Freedom leaders Elias Lukwago is trapped in critical condition at Luzira prison, where the state is actively denied him special life-saving medical evacuation to India despite official warning from national referral doctors that his life is in imminent danger. The international community must recognize this pattern. The Museveni-Muhonzi junta is utilizing weaponized medical neglect and administrative torture to eliminate its critics.
Unconstitutional and derogable torture by keeping a feasible failing Dr. Besigye and Lord Mayor Elias Lukwago in a toxic prison condition. While denying the medical care, the state is violating Article 23, 24, and 44 of the Uganda Constitution. Those articles protect non-derogable rights and strict prohibit any form of cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment. Operating defiant illegal military courts, The Supreme Court's landmark ruling explicitly declared that civilians can no longer be tried by military court under Article 28, Clause 1 and 210, because the military tribunals have zero legal jurisdiction over civilian any prior or ongoing military charges against Dr. Kizza Besigye are illegal and void. His holding is no longer a legal process. It is a lawless executive hostage situation. Violation of the UN Mandela rules by actively blocking Areas Lukwago's medical evacuation to India and keeping Besigye under hostility military lockdown. The junta is direct violation of Rule 27 of the United Nations Standard Minimum of Rules for the Treatment of Prisoners, the Mandela Rules, and Article 16 of the Africa Charter on Human Rights and People Rights, which mandate the immediate transfer of illegal detainees to specialized medical institutions. Those obligations exist irrespective of the charges faced by detainees and require authority to preserve life and dignity while legal proceedings continue. The targeted destruction of the legal defense to ensure opposition leader dies without access to fair trial or public voice. The regime has carried out brutal campaign to decapitate their illegal representation. Viva come viva!
Viva! Viva! Viva Uganda! Viva!
Viva!
Free Besigye! Free Besigye!
Free Besigye!
Free Areas Lukwago!
Free Areas Lukwago!
So my names are Julius Kamau Kimani, human rights defender, and we are here because I feel bad, I feel sad about Uganda, about this case. It's so terrible, it should never have happened in the first place. And so I continue reading the statement. On 15th June, so I'm reading the case of Areas Lukwago, armed abduction, enforced disappearance, and basement torture. On 15th June 2026, heavily armed personnel reportedly belonging to the Special Forces Command of the Uganda People's Forces, UPDF, forcibly entered Mr. Lukwago's residence in the Wakariga neighborhood of Kampala and moved him without a warrant of explanation. And for more than 48 hours, his whereabouts remained unknown. General Muhoozi Kainerubaga, Chief of Defense Forces, is reported to have ordered the operation and subsequently published a series of posts on social media publicly claiming responsibility for Mr. Lukwago's capture, including photographs showing him blindfolded, stating that he had been taken to his basement and issuing explicit threats against his physical safety. Furthermore, Mr. Lukwago's family has reported that he was severely beaten and subjected to physical trauma while held entirely incommunicado.
He was in court. We are all aware about his case, the treason charges, of which he has been battling in the court for the last 2 years, but bado, there is no end. We are all aware that his legal team, his representatives, one including Council Martha Karua, has been denied entry to Uganda. His other lead counsel, Areas Lukwago, is in jail. All his associates, all his lawyers have been threatened. They are either in Uganda living in fear or outside of Uganda. And then yesterday while in court, he was forced to use the lawyers or representatives from the government, which he denied, and that coercion, he collapsed, and as we speak, he's still unconscious in Murago Hospital. So we are issuing a statement. I think we can begin.
For immediate